Okay, number 18. In the right triangle shown, C equals 12. What is B? Keep your answer in simplified radical form. So there are going to be special right triangles on your test, so you have to remember, you need to remember the formula for 45, 45, 90 triangles. Those are special. So in 45, 45, 90 triangles, remember we always have 1x, 1x. The legs are always congruent to each other. And then the hypotenuse is always x radical 2. So if you look at this triangle, this 12 looks like this x radical 2 because they're both hypotenuses, hypoteni, whatever. So what your equation is going to be is you're going to say that x radical 2 equals the 12 because they're the same side length in that triangle. And then you're going to solve for x because it's asking for b, and these legs are going to be the same. They're both x. So to get x by itself, the opposite of multiplying by the radical 2 is dividing by radical 2. And remember, unfortunately for you guys, for the rest of your mathematics career, you can never have a radical in the denominator. So to get rid of it, you're going to multiply the top and the bottom by radical 2. I don't know why it keeps disappearing from me. It'll come back. Maybe. Hopefully. Yep, there it is. Okay. So you multiply the top and the bottom by radical 2, and that gets rid of the radical on the bottom, because radical 2 times radical 2 is radical 4. And what's the square root of 4? Regular 2, right? That's the magic that happens. So the denominator is now regular 2, and the top is 12 radical 2. And remember, you're almost done. The last thing you do is look at the regular numbers, the numbers not in the radical, and simplify if you can. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. So your answer should be 6 radical 2. Okay? 19 is also a special right triangle. It says the altitude of an equilateral triangle is 8 radical 3. So when they say altitude, it's not talking about like planes and that kind of altitude. What it means, it's talking about the right, it's a right angle, or a line, a perpendicular line, excuse me. Okay, so we have an equilateral triangle. That means it's 60 degrees, all the angles are 60 degrees, right? And if you have an altitude, that means it's cutting this one into a 30-degree angle. So we have a special right triangle, 30, 60, 90. So you need to remember that for 30, 60, 90 triangles, 30, 60, 90, the angle, or the side across from angle 30 is always 1x. The hypotenuse is always 2x. So we 1, 2, and the one across from the 60 is radical 3. X radical 3. Okay, so that's a shortcut that you need to remember. It tells you that the altitude is 8 radical 3. So this part is 8 radical 3. And they want to know what's the length of each side of the equilateral triangle. So we're looking for this. And if you compare it to our shortcut, we want to figure out how long this side is. Okay, and they give us 8 radical 3. That looks like x radical 3. So the first thing you're going to do is say, okay, 8 radical 3 is the same thing as x radical 3, and you're going to solve for x. So the opposite of multiplying by radical 3 is dividing by radical 3, and what do you know? The radicals disappear, and you're left with x equals 8. And some people are going to stop there. I guarantee you this is going to be an answer on your test because they're going to try to trick you. That is just this side length. X equals 8. We want to know what 2x is, the whole equilateral triangle side. So the whole side is going to be times 2, so your final answer is going to be 16. Please, 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 please don't do your happy dance too early and stop here. Keep going, multiply by 2, that's your final answer. Okay, number 16. In right triangle ABC, measure for angle B is 90 degrees, C equals 25 degrees, and AC equals 30. What is the value of BA? So we're trying to figure out what this is. The first thing you have to figure out is, are you going to use sine, cosine, or tangent? In respect to the angle, this side is opposite, and this is across from the 90 degrees, so this is the hypotenuse. Remember, your shortcut is SOHCAHTOA. So which trig function talks about opposite and hypotenuse? That's sine. So your setup is going to be sine of 25 equals x over 30. And the opposite of dividing by 30 is multiplying by 30. So really you have to do 30 times sine 25 equals x. And then you're going to be done. We don't have a calculator, but I do tell you that sine 25 is 0.9063. So what you're going to do, 0.9063 times 30. I put the 30 on the bottom because it has a 0 on it. So all I have to do is add a 0, and then I'm going to multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 6 is 18. Carry the 1. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 3 times 9 is 27. And then you have to move the decimal over 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So your answer to the nearest hundredths is going to be 27.1. This 9 is going to bump that 8 up. So 0.19. Is that what I got on mine? Yes, I did. Sweet. Okay. Next one. So that's how you do the old school multiplication. Number 17, the hypotenuse of a right triangle is 28. They don't have a picture. That means you get to draw one. Okay, so hypotenuse is 28. One angle of the triangle measures 61 degrees. It doesn't matter. Pick an angle, any angle. I'm going to say that one. What is the length of the side adjacent to the angle? Adjacent means touching, so this one has to be our adjacent. You have to first decide if you're using sine, cosine, or tangent. We have an adjacent side. It told us already. And we have the hypotenuse. Again, it told us hypotenuse and adjacent. So that means we have to use cosine. So cosine of the angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Opposite of dividing by 28 is multiplying by 28. So 28 times cosine 61 equals x. And I already showed you how to do the old school multiplication. So you just do it and you get 13.6. Okay. Let's say they give you a question. I'm not sure if they're going to or not, but let's say they give you something like this. Cosine 61 equals 28 over x. Remember when the x is in the denominator, what do? I wish this would stop erasing. Come back, come back. Yeah. When x is on the denominator, we swip them. So it would be x equals 28 divided by cosine 61. And again, you're not going to have a calculator. This number always goes inside. The bottom number always goes outside, so 0.4848. And then what happens when you have a decimal out here is you're going to move the decimal over 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have to move the decimal over 4 times here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, so really you're going to be dividing 4,848 divided by 280,000. Okay. Again, I'm not sure. They might have a question about dividing. I'm not sure. Okay, did I do anything right? Yes. Okay, last one, 20. Look at parallelogram ABCD. B equals x and ADC equals 60 degrees. What is the measure of altitude CE? Again, altitude is that perpendicular line. So really we're looking for this one, and I'll just call it y. Because why not, right? Okay, it's a parallelogram. I know, all the way back in chapter 6, we learned that opposite angles are congruent. This is clearly not drawn to scale, because if this angle is 60, that means this angle has to be 60 degrees. And we have a 90. Oh my gosh, we have a special right triangle. It's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So one more time, I cannot reiterate this enough. You guys have to remember this shortcut. The angle, I don't know why I put that there, excuse me. The 60 degrees goes on the bottom, because this side's longer. Okay, so here's 60, there's 30. Remember, the side across from the 30 is always 1x, the hypotenuse, which doesn't look right. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Hypotenuse is always 2x, and we have x radical 3 across from the 60 degrees. Okay, it says leave your answers in terms of x, because they don't tell us how long this side is. So this side, oh my gosh, it looks like this side. And y, which is what they want us to solve for, looks like this side. So your answer, since we have to leave it in terms of x, is just x radical 3. That's it. We can't do anything else with it. Okay? So again, they gave us the short side. They said that that was x. So the altitude is just going to be x radical 3. That's it. We're done. We're done. Good luck on the DSATs. You guys are going to rock it.